Welcome back to HLN News Now. 35 minutes from now, Michael Jackson's former wife, Debbie Rowe, will testify in the King of Pop's wrongful death suit. And Gene and I were just talking here, trying to decipher all this. What could be going on in Debbie Rowe's mind? We've got our Justice Squad, headed up by Gene. We also have great criminal defense attorneys Joey Jackson and Jeff Gold. And we have a member of our Psych Squad, psychologist Judy Ho. Judy, okay, help us out here with the mindset of Debbie Rowe, because she's, we're finding out that there's this potential budding relationship with Paris Jackson, so she has to watch what she says, right?
Yes, but Debbie has said before that she doesn't really intend to be the children's mother. And so that was an interesting comment, I thought, because it really gets at, Debbie's level of intended involvement with her biological children. And so I think that what she's saying there is that while she cares for her children and they are her children biologically, she doesn't necessarily need or want or crave a relationship with them. I think from Paris's angle, it's a little different. Paris just lost her father, who she was very close with. And so she's really wanting to reach out for that. And so I think their intentions are a little different here.
Interesting. But this is Paris who reached out to Debbie Rowe. And again, well, if you're a mom, whether or not you've said they're Michael's children or not, if your flesh and blood reaches out to you, aren't you going to want a relationship no matter what you've said in the past?
Well, that's really possible, Mike, but we don't really know where Debbie is at now, and there's probably a lot of conflicting things she has to deal with. And right now, depending on what she says, there's also an element of self-protection, right? I mean, depending on what she says, it might actually even incriminate her, that if she knew that Michael had this problem for such a long time, why didn't she do anything about it?
Okay.
And so I think she has to balance a lot of different things here, and maybe her own protection is going to be the most important thing right now.
Well, you see the picture there and you hear the words of a young Paris Jackson. It broke our hearts then. And you wonder, how is she doing now, after what has gone on with her life? And again, from what we're gathering, Paris Jackson has reached out to Debbie Rowe, Michael Jackson's former wife, who will be testifying less than a half an hour from now. Back with us, psychologist Judy Ho. Judy, let's zone in on Paris here for a moment. 15 years old, which is tough enough as it is for any, teenager to be that age. We know the challenges for that. But now you add in your dad, the King of Pop. He is now gone, who you were so close to. And we've shown just a snippet there. Veiled existence as a child, hidden, yet the sweet moments with Michael, so on and so forth. How does a 15-year-old deal with all that and even have to give deposition in this very case?
Poor Paris. She has so much going on. And as you just mentioned, Mike, a 15-year-old already has so many things that they're dealing with. There's the teenage angst. There's all of these developmental things that we're already thinking about. But for Paris, this is completely unprecedented, and probably most teens won't be able to deal with the amount of stressors that are kind of accumulating around her. Not only does she have to go to deposition and deal with the court system, she just lost her father, and that was her primary and pretty much only parental figure that was constant throughout her life, who was really protective of her. She was shielded from the spotlight. And now she's out in the open and she's having to deal with all of that, where before she was protected. And so even that is a huge shock to her system.
Yeah.
And then, as you mentioned before, she's having to reach out to her biological mother, Debbie, to try to have a relationship to maybe fill that void. I'm sure it's all very, very difficult for her and traumatizing.
Right. And by the way, stick around. We're going to let you listen to what Paris had to say in deposition concerning this case. Joey Jackson's with us as well, part of the Justice Squad, great criminal defense attorney. Joey, how much do you think we're going to get?
Kind of creepy.
That's a little creepy.
Just.
I mean, that's fascinating on so many levels. Number one, to hear the story, but deeper, just how Paris holds herself. She's 15, and I think she's pretty strong and pretty comfortable. She's telling the story, and she's got the smile, very charming young girl. We've got our experts with us. We've got to start with our psychologist, Judy Ho. Judy, what do you make of that? Again, 15, but I think really, we know about the trouble she's had since, but it can be so strong and confident, as you see right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Her body language, she seemed pretty comfortable in such a difficult situation for adults, and she's still a teen. At the same time, I think there's also some signs that she probably doesn't really want to be there to be talking about this stuff. I mean, it's re-traumatizing for her to have to revisit this over and over again. I mean, her father just passed away, and she has to keep going back there. And so, even though she does seem confident, I do think that this is still wreaking some kind of havoc on her psyche, especially because she just had that recent suicide attempt that she was just hospitalized for.
No.